So the last clinical correlation that we have left is called the hemisection of the spinal cord. And it's also known as Brown-Séquard syndrome. So it has two names. It's either hemisection of the spinal cord or Brown-Séquard syndrome. تمام? What this syndrome is basically about is that you are damaging one part of the spinal cord on one side. So like one disc or one level. So for example, if the level is T12 and you're only damaging one side, so either the right or the left. So for example, a car accident, a specific disease, you're stabbed, something like that. Something damages only one half of a level of a spinal cord. So for example, the right side of T12. The questions then would ask you, what do you lose? Or like what sensations do you lose? And where do you get paralyzed, okay? So basically what happens is, a lot actually happens, تمام? So first of all, نتكلم عن الsensory, تمام? On the same level of the spinal cord, you lose all sensation, تمام? So if this is the area of the damage, on the same level, you lose everything. Okay, so on the same level, you're losing all of your sensations. Why? Because all of the nerves they're going into the spinal cord get cut. تمام؟ يعني أي nerve كانت داخل the spinal cord is gonna get cut. So there is no such thing as it crossing over or any of that stuff. It just never enters the spinal cord in the first place. So any sensation, touch, pain, temperature, vibration, أي حاجة at the level of T12 is gonna be lost on the same side. So if it's on the same side, we call it ipsilateral, right? So first thing you get is ipsilateral loss of all sensation on the same level. تمام؟ بعد ذاك you're going to be talking about what happens below the level. Below the level, you get ipsilateral loss of vibration, fine touch, and these things. So it had the dorsal column. So you'd lose ipsilaterally anything from the dorsal column, because remember we said in the dorsal column was gonna will cross in the medulla, right? So for example, if this was the dorsal column from below it, it would go up through this layer and it was supposed to cross in the medulla, right? So in this situation, it got interrupted here, right? So it got interrupted, which means it's no longer going to be felt. Make sense, Jama? So we're losing the same sided, all sensations on the same level because we got cut of all the innervation. And then we lost the dorsal column on the same side because it was not crossing over. So it was supposed to go all the way up and then cross to the other side. We're talking about sensory. We're not talking about motor. But sensory ما فيه upper lower motor neuron. Make sense? نحن نتكلم عن sensory. فالsensory بس فيه موضوع الكلام اللي اتكلمنا عنه before the break, which is basically if it's ipsilateral ولا contralateral, or if it's dorsal column ولا spinothalamic. يعني spinothalamic الدورسال كان المفروض يطلع و it crosses over في المظلة, but it didn't do that because it didn't get to, it got interrupted here. فعشان كده you lose ipsilateral loss of a vibration, touch و temperature. Vibration و fine touch. تاني عندنا الspinothalamic. الspinothalamic on the same side is not damaged لأنه it crossed للجهة الثانية. لكن الspinothalamic on the opposite side, it crossed over and came up. صح? So you're gonna lose the other side of spinothalamic. So in the contralateral loss of pain, touch, and temperature, which is a spinothalamic. تمام؟ يعني الspinothalamic هيروح from the other side because you're supposed to from the other side you get the spinothalamic, it crosses to the other side and then it goes up. لكن it's not gonna get up, it's gonna get interrupted. So for example, if the pain from the left side مفروض كان to cross to the right side and then go upwards. But while it was going upwards, it got interrupted by the damaged area. So you're no longer going to be able to feel pain on the left side, although the damage is on the right side. فهمتوا؟ Because the spinothalamic tract is crossing over. وقعت لكم؟ I'll repeat again. طيب الموضوع الايديا شنو؟ احنا قلنا الspinothalamic tract ده it crosses over صح؟ اوكي الspinothalamic tract المفروض يعمل crossing over صح؟ واحنا عملنا damaging للرايت سايد. احنا اسي ضربنا الرايت سايد اوف ذا patient في level T12 صح؟ معناتها لو الspinothalamic الجاي تحت من T12 ده بيمشي عكسه بيطلع عادي صح؟ on the same side it crosses وبيطلع عادي ما بيحصل له شيء. لكن الopposite side اللي هو في الليفت سايد ما بيطلع طوالي، بيمشي للرايت سايد حتى يطلع، واثناء ما هو بيطلع it gets interrupted by a damage حقنا ده. So in this case, instead of losing the sensation of the same side, you're losing the sensation on the opposite side. فهمتوني ولا أعيد ثاني؟ يعني imagine معاي الspinothalamic tract ده on the other side بيعمل شنو؟ تمام؟ يعني عندنا spinothalamic tract مش؟ والspinothalamic tract احنا قلنا في شغله إنه in the same level of the spinal cord it crosses to the other side and then it goes up to the brain صح؟ فمعناته left spinothalamic tract crosses to the right side وبيطلع، والرايت spinothalamic tract crosses to the left side وبيطلع صح؟ طيب احنا الحته اللي حصل لها damaging دي ولا دي؟ دي صح؟ لكن التراكت الجاي في الحته دي هو originally جاي من الرايت ولا من الليفت؟ originally جاي من الليفت، معناته انتوا بتخسروا في sensation on the left although the damage is on the right. فهمتوني؟ يعني لما نقول contralateral it's in respect to the area of the damage. فهمتوني؟ يعني الدمج هو on the right لكن السensation اللي بيضرب is on the left because the left قطع to the right side first or it crossed to the right side first and then it got damaged. So you lose contralateral sensation of pain, touch and temperature. كده كلكم وقعت لكم؟ تمام great. طيب تاني بعد ذاك احنا كنا اتكلمنا عن السباينوثالاميك والدورسال كولوم، يعني اتكلمنا عن السنسيشن كله الاسندنج، فضل الديسندنج تراكت. يلا الديسندنج تراكت هنا بيجينا شنو؟ هيجينا upper motor neuron lesion. wait a minute. هيجينا upper motor neuron lesion في الارياز اللي below. ليه؟ لانه ضربنا السباينال كورد ذاته صح؟ ما ضربنا الانتيريور هورن سيلز. سو الابر موتور نيورون كان المفروض ينزل تحت هنا كله هيكون اتضرب هنا. سو في upper motor neuron lesion ipsilateral so on the same side. ليه ipsilateral؟ لأنه it already crossed في البرين صح؟ ipsilateral upper motor neuron below which we basically call it spastic paralysis. يعني السيمتومز اللي بتجي للزول ده بيجيه spastic paralysis below the area of the damage ipsilaterally on the same side، لأنه upper motor neuron دي كانت جاية من البرين ماشية تودي nerves توزع النيرفز دي كده صح؟ توزع النيرفز لكن اتقطعت هنا so it got cut off before it reached there and it got cut off in the spinal cord. So you're losing an upper motor neuron anywhere below it, right? You're cutting the connection. So anywhere below the lesion, it will no longer have innervation. So it will be spastic paralysis or upper motor neuron lesion. Make sense? Okay, great. طيب يلا كده دي كلام الupper motor neuron. يلا one more thing that's different though. احنا قبل قلنا if you damage the anterior horn cell itself, you're basically damaging the lower motor neuron, صح؟ يعني النيرف الجاية ماردة في the same level of the damage دي lower motor neuron، صح؟ يعني النيرف اللي جات تطلع في the same level دي أثناء الضربة حتتقطع. Like the nerve going out of the same level of the injury will accidentally get injured as well. So on the same level, you'll get a lower motor neuron. يعني تجيك lower motor neuron only on the same level of injury. يعني في T12 بس. In this scenario, in this example, T12 بس حيجيها lower motor neuron. لكن الباقي كله حيجيه upper motor neuron. هشرحها لكم تاني بالجنبة. يعني هنا ده مثلا هنا عندنا الرسمة دي، تمام؟ دي الانتيريور هورن سيل، تمام؟ الانتيريور هورن سيل مارجة منه اللور موتور نيورون، صح؟ So this is the lower motor neuron. والجاي في السباينال كورد ده الupper motor neuron, right? والنازل تحته ده upper motor neuron of other levels, right? So the moment we injure this area, we cut off the upper motor neuron going downwards. So anything below it gets an upper motor neuron lesion. However, we also accidentally cut off the lower motor neuron of the same level. صح? So on the level of T12 or the level of injury, we get both an upper motor neuron and the lower motor neuron lesion. Make sense? فهمتوا؟ يعني في نفس الليفل بنخسر everything. بيجينا upper motor neuron و lower motor neuron و loss of all sensation. لكن بعد ذاك below it بيعتمد على الحاجة. يعني الموتور هيبقى upper motor neuron والsensation لو كان بيعمل لك crossing هيكون contralateral، ولو كان ما بيعمل crossing هيكون ipsilateral. فهمتوا؟ البقية you guys all get it؟ Okay, that is great. يلا most people في الامتحان like I know a lot of people who just memorized the rules الخمسة ديل وبيخشوا بقى الامتحان. Like it's possible for you to just memorize the 5 rules, or you could imagine ال movement of a tract واحد يعني you think of it dorsal column okay بيمشي بيطلع it's gonna get cut off. Spinal thalamic بيمشي and it crosses and then it gets up and then it gets cut off and so on. يعني you have the option of imagining each tract on its own one by one until you get the answer, or you can memorize the 5 features حقت الديزيز ده. يعني على كيفكم. أنا I personally prefer to imagine it every single time عشان أقدر ألقى which tract got cut off. لكن you guys can memorize it if you want to. تمام؟ عشان تتذكروا إنه on the same level you lose everything because everything gets damaged. لكن below it it depends on the tract itself. فهمتوا؟ Any questions? Okay, that is great. طيب لو anybody else has a question, let me know. لأنه كده basically this is the ending of our lecture. ما في حاجة تانية. لكن remember إنه Hemisection ده is very important يعني go through it again before you go to the exam لأن it's very important يعني. It's a common area of question. Usually ال MCQ بيحكي لك إن الزول حصل له hemisection on the level of كده, and then they'd ask you what happens to each person. We're gonna do meninges and cerebellum tomorrow إن شاء الله. يلا